Division of decimals is a tedious process. You have to work in a long division grid, lining up your digits as you go down, and the first thing you need to deal with is the position of the decimal. It does matter where the decimal goes. So first we're going to write this problem, 23.6 divided by 4, in a long division grid. Remember, the number that comes after the division sign is the divisor, so it goes on the outside of the grid. So we're going to do 4 into 23.6. The first thing you have to check is there a decimal in your divisor? If there is, it has to move because you need to divide by a whole number. There is not a decimal in the divisor, so we need to take our decimal that's in the dividend straight up and put it in our quotient, which is the answer to our division. Now we're ready to divide. So we're going to divide 4. It won't go into 2, so we'll have to take 4 into 23. That will go 5 times. Multiply back. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract and bring down. Now we divide again. 4 into 36 will go 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. Subtract. There is no remainder, so our answer is 5.9. Here's another example. 0.51 divided by -6. First, let's go ahead and deal with the sign so that we don't forget it. And with division, if you only have one negative, that's odd, so the answer will be negative. So let's go ahead and put that in our answer so that we don't have to deal with it as we go. Now we're going to write in a long division grid, and we've already dealt with the sign, so we'll just use the 6 into 0.51. Remember, whatever's after the division sign is your divisor, goes on the outside. So we will place our decimal. That's our first step. Check your divisor. There's no decimal there, so your decimal should go straight up. And then we start to divide. 6 into 0, it won't go. Put the 0. 6 into 5, it won't go. You're required to have this 0 because it's after the decimal. 6 into 51 will go 8 times. That was our divide. Now we're going to multiply back. 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract. It would be 11 minus 8 is 3. And we can add zeros to keep going. So we'll add a 0 on the end, and then we'll bring it down. And 6 into 30 will go 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. And so this one does work out evenly by adding the 1 0. So our answer is negative 0.085. Next, we have a problem that's already written in a long division grid. Remember, the first thing we have to do is deal with our decimal. So we have to check our divisor. This time there is a decimal in the divisor. That decimal has to move to the end so that we're dividing by a whole number. So it needs to move 2 spaces to get to the end. The one in the dividend has to move the same amount of spaces to the right. 1, 2. Then the decimal goes straight up. So now we divide, and we're going to divide by 92. It won't go into 33, so we go into 331. And I'm going to guess 3 times. Multiply back. 3 times 92 is 276. Subtract and bring down. Then you're ready to divide again. 92 into 552, and this will go 6 times. 6 times 92 is 552. So this one does not have a remainder. We don't need to add zeros. Here's another problem that has a sign in it. And so we'll go ahead and deal with the sign. We only have one negative with division that's odd, so it will give us a negative. We'll go ahead and put that in our answer and then not worry about it anymore. So we're going to go to a long division grid, 0.04 into 20. Remember, your first step is to deal with the decimal and place it. And so we do have a decimal in the divisor. It has to move to the end. So 1, 2 spaces. In the dividend, it has to move the same amount of spaces. We don't see a decimal. If you don't see one, remember it's after the number. So right now, the decimal is at the end of the 20. And we need for it to go 2 places to the right, just like in the divisor. So 1, 2. Then our decimal will go straight up. Now we have to fill in the zeros here for it to actually have those spaces to divide. And then we're ready to divide. So now we have 4 into 2,000. So 4 into 20 will go 5 times. Multiply back. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract and bring down. 4 into 0 won't go. You have to put that 0 because you're not to the end of the decimal yet. 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract and bring down. 4 into 0 won't go. You have to put that 0. 0 times 4 is 0. So our answer is negative 500. For our next problem, we have a clue that it's not going to work out very nice. It says divide 0.0453 by 0.98 and round the quotient to the nearest thousandth. So we're going to have to keep adding some zeros at the end. When we set up in our long division grid, remember the number you divide by is the divisor. So the 0.98 is going on the outside of the grid. First, we will need to place our decimal. So in your divisor, you have a decimal. It needs to move to the end. So that was 2 places. In the dividend, it goes the same amount of places to the right and goes straight up. Then forget about the decimal. So we're going to try 98 into 4. It won't go, so we'll put the 0. 98 into 45. It won't go. We're required to write the 0 because it's after the decimal. So 98 into 453. And I would guess a 4 there because 98 is about 100. Multiply back. 4 times 98 gives us 392. Then we'll subtract. And we're going to have to add a 0 to bring down. Now we divide again. 98 into 610. And we'll say 6 times. Multiply back. 6 times 98 gives us 588. And we're to the subtract step. Now let's look at our answer. We're at the 10th, 100th, thousandth place. To round to the nearest thousandth, we have to see one more digit. And so we'll add one more 0 and bring it down. And then we'll divide 98 into 220. We just need to see how many times it goes. And this is only going to go 2 times. Right. Now to round, the 6 is the place you want. You look 1 digit to the right. 5 or higher, we would push the 6 up to a 7. Since it's lower, we will drop it off. So our answer is 0.046, and that is rounded to the nearest thousandth. Next, we're going to look at a shortcut for division by a power of 10. It is done just by moving the decimal to the left as many places as you have zeros in the power of 10. So if we want to do this problem, 52.861 divided by 100. In our power of 10, there are 2 zeros. That will move our decimal to the left 2 places, and this will give us 0.52861, and we would have a 0 on the left. Let's look at one more problem with this shortcut. 15.46 divided by negative 1,000. First of all, our answer is going to be negative because we only have one negative, and that is an odd number of negatives. And then for our shortcut, count your zeros in the power of 10. We have 4 zeros. Our decimal is going to go to the left 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have to add 2 zeros here. And a 0 on the left. So we had 15.46. We moved 4 places to the left for the 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's our answer. You could always check these by long division if you forget the shortcut.